The Bengals get defensive in Mock Draft 3.0. Hi again, everyone. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com and Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Welcome in to CBT. The NFL Draft is just 10 days away. 10 days away. Hopefully, you're ready for awesome draft content. If you are, hit that follow button or subscribe button, rather. Ring the bell and buckle up because we're going to have a ton for you over the next 10 days and then after with 3 days of draft coverage as the draft is going on and beyond that as well. So if you're looking for Bengals coverage, you've come to the right place. And let's dive into Mock Draft 3.0. Use Pro Football Focus this week. And a lot of the top guys, top targets were gone. Tyler Linderbaum was gone. Trevor Penning fell all the way to 24. I was like, man, if he continues to fall, you got to consider him. I think that's probably his floor. Andrew Booth was gone. David Ojabo was gone for those that want him. Zion Johnson was gone. You know who was not gone? And Bernard Raymond was gone. I think there's a Bernard Raymond fan out there somewhere that subscribes and watches regularly. So he was gone as well for those that, want him. Kaiir Elam was not gone. And I think this is the route the Bengals want to go. I think they would, in an ideal world, if they had their ideal pick, it would be one of these corners. They brought in Andrew Booth for a visit. A lot of times those top 30 visits, as much as anything, have to do with medical, which wouldn't surprise me at all. Kaiir Elam, to me, would make a ton of sense. You're talking about a young corner that projects to be a top corner. He's physical. He's comfortable in press man. And so he's got the traits you look for to be a successful player in the NFL. So I had Kaiir Elam going to the Bengals at 31. And, he's 29th on Pro Football Focus's big board. He's 45th or in the 40s, I believe, on Dane Brugler's. But other people think he could end up being one of the best cornerbacks in this draft and not, 6th or 5th if he's the 5th cornerback off the board. But, maybe the 2nd or 3rd best cornerback in this draft. Maybe even the 1st if you ask Florida fans, I would say. So point being, Kaiir Elam, if he's there at 31, I think the Bengals would be excited about it. And he was clearly the top corner for me that was available, so I took him. And so then you go, and a guy that was on the board that I was like, he probably won't be there in round 2, but you at least have a discussion about is Kingsley Enagbare, the kid from South Carolina, edge rusher. The Bengals obviously could use more edge help, and they get it because Enagbare, you'd expect him to go, I think, realistically in the 40 to 50 range, falls to 63. I don't think it's completely unrealistic because Joseph Osai was considered a late first, early second round pick last year, and he fell to the Bengals. And that's just an example of what happens. Sometimes guys fall, and it's going to happen this year. It happens every draft. And so you're the Bengals at 63. Enagbare is still there. That's who I'm taking. And I think it makes a ton of sense because now you shore up the corner spot with this young guy who can come in and really push Eli Apple in maybe take over his starting job by week 1. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it certainly could. And then Enagbare gives you now this trio of guys, young guys, right? Cam Sample, Joseph Osai, Enagbare, to rotate, to do what you need to do. Now, Enagbare is going to be more of an edge rusher. You put you put him on the edge and let him go. Osai has some flexibility, some versatility. Cam Sample the same. But you have Trey Hendricks and you have Sam Hubbard. Now you have this trio of young guys behind them, and you feel really good about the direction of the defensive line. You know me, I'm always worried about the offensive line, especially right now. And so round 3 rolled around, pick 95, and I hadn't addressed offensive line yet. Yeah, that needs to change. And it did with Sean Ryan out of UCLA. I like him. I think he's a glass eater. I think he's really strong. I think he's athletic enough to work in zone schemes, which the Bengals obviously run the wide zone. And Sean Ryan, to me, is a tackle at UCLA, but has the ability, has the strength, has the play strength, everything you're looking for on tape to compete right away at left guard for that starting left guard job. Might lose out to Jackson Carman, might lose out to Deontay Smith or someone in between, but I think it would make a lot of sense at pick 95 to take a guy in Sean Ryan. So now you've addressed both trenches and you've got your cornerback. Where do you go in round 4? Well, now you can go best player available. And one thing, we had Brian Callahan on the Locked On Bengals podcast last week. And one thing, he made it clear when we asked the Bengals offensive coordinator about wide receiver. Naturally, I asked that question, by the way, about receivers. And he said, look, they need to be able to contribute on special teams. And that's why I went with Bo Melton out of Rutgers, because I think he's this physical wide receiver. They didn't put up huge numbers in this weird, unique college-style offense, but he's got good hands. He's a pretty good route runner and has a ton of special teams experience. And so he doesn't necessarily need to get on the field right away on offense, given that the Bengals have a big three in Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd at wide receiver. But he's a guy that could give you reps on offense if needed, and is certainly comfortable being a gunner and contributing on special teams as well. I think the Bengals would like someone like that. He's also a two-time team captain, so you mix all that together, makes a ton of sense. Real quick before we get to our final four picks, happy to say that we are back partnering with Rivertown Inkery, baby. You've seen me wear their swag even when they weren't a sponsor here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk, but they are back and they have a ton of summer gear for you. So it's not just Bengals gear, even though I'm wearing a little Bengals Tiger shirt right now. And heck, with the way the weather is in Cincinnati right now on Monday, you need a sweater like this. So check them out at rivertowninkery.com. Doug and his crew are awesome to work with. Obviously, this Tiger Rocks glass is just completely on fire during the playoff run. You need to get to rivertowninkery.com or check them out on Madison Road. They're open 6 days a week, and there's so much awesome stuff, from Bengal stuff to Cincinnati stuff, to shirts like Dear Coffee, I Need You. Maybe I should get my wife that shirt. She is a huge, huge coffee drinker. Her birthday's coming up. Maybe that'll be what I get her. The point is Rivertown Inkery has something for everyone. We're excited to be partnering with them again, and we hope you check them out right now at rivertowninkery.com. And actually, not right now, unless you open up a new tab right after this video. Let's dive into the rest of these picks, starting with round 5. And I hope you guys get excited about this one, because Matt Araiza is a Cincinnati Bengal. That's who I picked her. I went punter, round 5. Pro Football Focus gave me a big fat F. Big fat F. F is in Frank. F is in, well, I actually think fair. I think that's a fair pick. I think that would be an ideal pick. And, I've gone back and forth, but 5th round, you're talking 174th overall, end of round 5. If Araiza's there, get him, because he's got all the natural ability you need from an elite punter. And you have one of the best special teams coordinators in the NFL in Darren Simmons. Araiza has a huge leg. He could teach him, coach him up to use the touch, so to speak, on touchbacks and whatnot. But, man, you want to talk about a guy who could just change field position. Matt Araiza could certainly do that. The Bengals struck gold last year with Evan McPherson. They tried to do the same thing with Matt Araiza in round 5 at 174th overall. And now is the time for tight end in round 6, 209. And that's the thing with tight end, is if you don't get one, I would say it's 63, maybe it's round 3. But then the drop-off from, round 4, round 5 to round 6 probably isn't there, and depending on how the draft plays out. But it wasn't there for me in this draft. There wasn't a clear drop-off. Cole Turner's a guy that I think can contribute as a pass catcher pretty quickly in the NFL. Not a great blocker. But I got to be honest, I think the Bengals, and the reason they went and got Hayden Hurst, they want some explosion. They want guys at tight end that can give them a little extra oomph in the passing game. And that's something that Cole Turner projects to do. Not a big guy, not a great blocker, but certainly someone that is going to excel as a pass catcher, has long enough arms, and it is big enough as far as height goes to be able to make an impact, I think, pretty soon. It wouldn't be shocking at all if he was Hayden Hurst's primary backup, with Drew Sample kind of doing some more inline stuff when they need him on blocking downs and on running downs. That being said, for the 3rd straight mock in a row, and you guys hate this, I love it, because I actually think there's a good possibility it happens, because you want that young wide receiver pipeline continuing. The Bengals go wide receiver in round 7, Charleston Rambo out of the University of Miami. And another guy I like here, he was gone, Kevin Austin Jr. out of Notre Dame, and he might go sooner than round 7, but I like him as a mid-round target for the Bengals. I think round 5 or later. But Charleston Rambo had over 1,000 receiving yards for Miami last year. I think at this stage in the draft, you look and you say, all right, does he have the physical skills, the talent to potentially make the roster? You're talking about a 7th-round player, right? So 200 players have been off the board, 226th pick. I think so. And he does have experience as a kick returner. Maybe they like him potentially learning how to return punts as well. Wouldn't be shocked if they go this route. But let's get to my favorite pick. And it's not that Curtis Brooks went to the University of Cincinnati. It really isn't. It's that I was championing Alec Pierce for so long. And shout out to my good buddy Joe Goodberry for bringing up Brooks over the weekend. Brooks is a freak. And he tested like a freak when you look at his relative athletic score, in the 95th percentile. He's not a big guy, but he's got some pass rush juice. And regardless of the metrics you look at from a Pro Football Focus standpoint, he's pretty good against the run. Not great, but good. And he's small, 6 foot tall, so he's not going to wow you there. He's, let me make sure on his, or 6'2", 6'2", 287. That's tiny, right? But it's the 7th round. And I looked at all these different metrics, and he's projected to go undrafted, and he shouldn't go undrafted. Ran an elite 40, 93rd percentile, an elite shuttle, elite 3-cone. I mean, this guy is athletic. I think he can make an impact. And if you're the Bengals, maybe you take him with that first 7th-round pick, or you take him in the 6th round. But I think this is a guy you can add, you can develop him some, and maybe it takes him a year, but I think he could make a difference. And Joe Goodberry is the guy who brought him up. And I'm glad, because I'm not going to champion every single University of Cincinnati player. But no, I think Curtis Brooks is a guy that should certainly go drafted or be drafted at D3 at some point. And so will it be round 6, round 7? I think somewhere in that range it could certainly happen. So excited that Curtis Brooks lands in Cincinnati. And I like this mock draft. I don't know what you guys think, but I'll go over it top to bottom now. Kaiir, Elam, Kingsley, Enagbare. I like both of those guys. Suddenly everything gets much, much better as far as depth goes on defense. Sean Ryan, Bo Melton, 2 key pieces on offense. Bo Melton certainly going to contribute right away on special teams. Matt Araiza, speaking of special teams, just raised the level of play of everybody around him on special teams. Cole Turner, I think he can contribute early in his career, and you're talking about a 6th-round pick. Charleston Rambo out of Miami, and then last but certainly not least, my guy, Curtis Brooks. What do you think about this mock? Sound off on that. Get to rivertowninkery.com so you can get some swag. And until next time, for our channel coordinator, Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien, signing off for now right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.